This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome, you are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the 2015 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. How does this work? Great question for those of you who don't know the answer to that. It's simple. Here in the Lab Room Draft Wrap-Up Series, I break down the NFL draft of all 32 teams. What we look to do is give a grade using our baseball grading scale, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series. We cannot tell how these players will pan out. So all we're looking to do is score each draft, each player, break them down, talk about their pros, cons, and how they're going to help the team that they were selected by, and move on. So I'm going to start with the team that I thought had the best draft. Now, this is subject to change. Down the line, a team could score higher than the draft that I'm about to break down, but just looking at it from face value, not watching the tape fully on all the players selected, just looking at the guys that I know about and how I felt the team did selecting a combination of needs, value, and just the player itself, I just graded them out and I picked the team that I thought had the best draft. Now I will say, it was tough figuring out who had the best draft. I thought the NFC South had a strong draft as a whole. I thought Atlanta had an excellent draft. I thought New Orleans knocked it out of the park. I thought the entire AFC North also hit home runs with their drafts. I thought the Browns, they had about 27 picks and they made some awesome selections. I thought that the Cincinnati Bengals, they were literally, it was between New Orleans, Atlanta, and Cincinnati for who had the best. I was really torn between those three teams. You throw the Steelers and the Ravens in there. I thought the Ravens did some really good things. I just thought a lot of the teams in those two divisions in particular really knocked the draft out of the park. But when it was all said and done, the New Orleans Saints, with a combination of need, value, and just getting great football players, to me, with very bright futures, was what set them apart from some of the other teams, and that's why I decided to go with the New Orleans Saints. So let's break this down. I want to let you know these are going to start coming a lot faster and more furious as the NBA playoffs are starting to wane down. Look, once my team gets eliminated, and I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan, it looks like we're about to bow out here shortly. Once they're eliminated, I'm taking off. This thing is going to start running and they're going to come at you a lot faster. So don't think that it's going to be a 3, 4, 5 day hiatus between each video. It's going to start revving up here shortly. So be ready, as now the You Pick format up, as I like to call it. You pick, you the viewers pick. Remember, be the first in the comment section to leave the 2 phrases next and the team you'd like to see next in the comment section, and that team will be next, starting with this video. So here we go. New Orleans Saints, we start first round. 13th overall selection, offensive tackle out of Stanford, Andrus Peat. Remember, Saints had 2 first-round picks. This was the first of those 2 first-round picks. And this was a guy that, coming into the process, wasn't that high on at first. I thought he was mechanical. I thought he was a big kid. And so that's the pro that we start at. Really big kid, 6'7", 313. That's a wall of a man, folks. I mean, that's a mountain that you got to try to climb and conquer if you're a defensive lineman. And it's hard to do that when that guy's that big. I felt like maybe he was going to be mechanical. From what I had seen, I wasn't that impressed with him until I put on the tape. And then I was impressed with him. He's a guy with some functional movement skills. He's a big, long kid. He's very strong. And when he gets his hands on you, a lot of times that's it. If you can beat him to the punch, you got him. But if you can't, he's going to stonewall you. And so he anchors well. That's the next pro. He's a guy that once he gets to get into his stance, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Once he gets into his stance, he's a guy that you can't move. I mean, he anchors down and he gets his weight set. You're done. You're not going to bull rush him into the quarterback, push him back into the lap of the QB and get your hands on the quarterback and force him into an errant throw. He anchors down and gets his hands on you. He's a big, strong man, and you're done. He gets into his kick stance very quickly. Now, the thing I love about him, as a 6'7", 313-pound offensive lineman, you would think that he would be a little slow of foot. And if you're talking about running a 40, yeah, he's not the fastest guy, but how many offensive linemen throughout the course of their career run 40 yards down the field? Doesn't happen very often, so I don't really pay attention to the 40-yard dashes for these guys. But I like to see suddenness, quickness, explosiveness, and out of his stance, his kick stance, it's beautiful. So it's a work of art. He gets out of that thing quick. As they snap the football, he's already in his protection, and it's very, very refreshing to see a big guy get out of his stance and get ready to protect the quarterback. Now that can backfire on him, and I'll talk about that here in a second, but that is something that I liked seeing from him, getting out of his stance, getting to that kick shuffle, and man, does he do it lightning fast. He moves the line of scrimmage. I just talked about how big this guy is. He's one of these guys that, like I said, gets his hands on you. He will maul you in the run game, move you off the line of scrimmage, and create a new line of scrimmage. And he'll push you 2, 3, 4 yards down the field, and at times you'll even see a nasty streak with this kid. And so I think that there's a lot to like here with Andrus Peat. And these next two pros are the reason why I think the Saints decided to make him the first tackle off the board. Or second, I really don't know what Brandon Sheriff is. He's going to start at tackle, so I guess you could call him the second tackle off the board. But to me, the first premier tackle off the board can be dominant. And in certain instances, in certain games, this kid was dominant, okay? And the thing I love about Andrus Peat, why I thought that he, more so than some of the other guys at the tackle position in this draft, was a guy that you really wanted to take a close look at, was because he played against elite level competition, NFL caliber players in the Pac-12. Listen to the list of guys he had to block on a consistent basis. You know how corners and receivers, they don't really see elite level players across from them on a weekly basis. That's not usually the situation for tackles, especially when you're in a dominant conference like the Pac-12 where there are a lot of athletes. He had to take on Nate Orchard, who was drafted out of Utah. He had to take on Owawambe Odigizua out of UCLA. And remember, keep in mind, these are all guys that are in the Pac-12 that were drafted in this year's past draft. And with him in his draft class, he also had to take on Haioli Kikaha out of Washington. So you're talking about guys who is actually his teammate now in New Orleans. You're talking about 3 of the better pass rushers in this draft. He had to face them in the Pac-12 on a yearly basis, and so it just made him better. And I thought he had some really good showings against most of those players. One in particular gave him fits. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. His upside is tremendous though. And that's the last pro, and that's the one that I think has the Saints very excited. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I don't think he's reached his maximum potential yet. He's only going to get better with time. And right now, they've drafted him to be a right tackle. I would not be surprised if in a year and a half, 2 years, this guy kicks over to the left side, because to me, naturally, he's a left tackle. And I think they're going to use him like the Cowboys did with Tyron Smith. You're going to start him out at right tackle, and then when you feel the time is right, when he's matured enough to go to the glamour position of left tackle, they're going to kick him over, and Teron Armstead, a guy you drafted out of Arkansas Pine Bluff a couple of years ago, is going to kick over to right tackle, and I think you're going to have an offensive line that's going to begin to be set for years to come. I like both of those tackles, and I think over time, Andrus Peat is going to be a solid foundation for you at left tackle. Love the selection. Let's go to his cons quickly. Heavily penalized. And these are some things that can be cleaned up. And I want to lump the 2 of these cons together because I think they go hand in hand. He's heavily penalized because he has hand placement issues. And what I mean by that is when he goes to block a guy, you're supposed to have a wide base, not only with your legs, not only with your feet, but you're supposed to have a nice base with your hands. You don't want your hands too close together, because if you do that, you can be beat. And if you're beat as a lineman, it's only natural to grab and hold on to not allow the defender to get to the ball carrier or get to the quarterback. So there are times where his hands are too close together. They should be on the outsides of the rib pads right here and up under, and that's where you should be blocking. They shouldn't be in close proximity to each other. And there are times where he'll have a hand here on the inside of the breastplate and right here, which you're asking to get a holding penalty. If you got your hand already inside the breastplate and you got a hand where it's supposed to be, they're too close together, and there are times where guys are ready to swim and get him off him, and he just won't let go. And he'll ride him down to the ground and they'll pull out the flag. Now, there's another issue he has. He had way too many false start penalties. I swear, he was one of those guys, every single tape, and I watched about 5 or 6, every single tape on this guy, he had a penalty. And it's almost like Flozell Adams with the Cowboys in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you're like, man, you know he's getting a penalty. It's just how many and when. You just hope that he didn't have a penalty at the most inopportune time. He's got to clean that up. He's got to know the snap count. He's got to watch the football. He can't jump false start. And he also needs to watch his hand placement. That's something that I think they can teach him to be better at, and not have his hands too close together where he can set himself up for holding penalties. His last con, he can be off balance at times. Remember I talked about that kick start he gets when he gets into his stance quickly? Well, sometimes he can overdo it. Remember, I told you he does it very fast, and it can be something that defensive linemen, if they time it up, can use it to their advantage. And one guy that he struggled with mightily, I talked about all of the really good pass rushers that he saw while he was at Stanford. I thought he shut down Haoli Kikaha. I thought he shut down Owambe Odigizua. They got some rush at times, but it wasn't anything worth noting. The guy that he struggled the most was Nate Orchard. Nate Orchard lit him up, tore him a new asshole, okay? Nate Orchard might have got him for 2.5, 3 sacks in that game. He had him off balance, he was bull rushing him, he was beating him with speed, and the reason why Nate Orchard was able to beat him up was because he was timing up that kickstart, and as he would get out of his stance, before he could anchor down, remember I told you he anchors well, before he could ankle down, Nate Orchard would get his hands up under his pads, and remember, we're talking about a 6'7" tackle that if he stands straight up and I'm able to get leverage on him and drive him back, I got him. I got him right where I want him. And Nate Orchard, first he beat him with speed, which made Andrews Pete want to get out of his stance even faster. So now he's thinking, I got to open up quick. This guy just beat me with speed. Speed! And so, speed will make you do some crazy things, folks. And so now he wants to get out of his stance extra fast. Well, guess what happens now? Nate said, I got him. I got him. He's trying to get out of his stance fast. As soon as the snap took place, Nate would go straight to the bull rush. And while this guy's trying to set up for the speed, power's coming, bull rush, right into the lap of the quarterback. Nate Orchard put on a clinic against Andrews Pete. Those are things he'll clean up. And every tackle has a bad day. And so I think he'll be better. And I think the Saints got themselves an absolute stud at the tackle position. And I think in a year or two, he'll be at left tackle. He's going to start out at right tackle. And I don't think it's going to be long before he's your left tackle, and a damn good one. Andrews Pete, for me, you can put it on the board. Yes! It's a home run for the New Orleans Saints in the first round. Offensive tackle out of Stanford, Andrews Pete. We move on to the second of their 2 first-round selections. I'm not going to break this one down, as I've already done that in my breakdown video. If you want more on Stephon Anthony, go to my NFL Draft Prospects one-on-one video and check out what I had to say about Stephon Anthony. I'm going to just give you a quick overview. This kid is phenomenal. 31st overall selection in the first round. This one was the pick from the Seattle Seahawks that you traded with Jimmy Graham. And so this is a kid out of Clemson, linebacker, that I am just madly in love with. I think this guy has the ability to come in, be better than Jonathan Vilma. Be better than Jonathan Vilma. Be better than Curtis Lofton. This guy's going to come in and be a handful day one, tackling machine, thumper, more athletic than people give him credit for. He lit it up at the combine. I think that Stephon Anthony easily could be in a running for Defensive Rookie of the Year when it's all said and done. This kid is an absolute stud. I don't have to tell you much more. Check out the video if you haven't already seen what I had to say about him. But you can go ahead and put it on the board. Yeah! Back-to-back jacks for the New Orleans Saints in the first round as they get offensive help with Andres Pete at the tackle position and defensive help at linebacker with Stephon Anthony out of Clemson. Go to the second round. And this is a guy I just talked about when I was talking about Andres Pete. Outside linebacker, so you're basically talking about a rush outside linebacker out of Washington, Louie. And this is a guy that led the nation in sacks with 19, 32 sacks over the last 2 seasons, 19 in 2014, 13 in 2013. So this guy is on fire right now, this time around. Styles, let's talk about his pros and why this guy landed in the second round to the New Orleans Saints with the 44th overall selection. Pros, 6'2", 253 pounds. I like the size, I like his build. I like the way he moves on the football field. And so I think with that size, we saw how these pass rushers look. A lot of these guys were 245 pounds. You even had a guy like Randy Gregory who was about 235 pounds. So he's a bigger outside linebacker, guy that can get to the quarterback. And so I like that about him, having a little bit of size and girth on him. Bag of tricks. And this is a guy that can do a number of different things. He can use a spin move. You'll see that on tape. He'll use the speed to the outside. He'll use the rip move. He'll go hard outside, back inside. He'll go into the bag of tricks every now and again, pull something out you haven't seen in that particular game, and find a way to get to the quarterback. When you get 19 sacks, it's not doing the same thing. You're not a repetitive rusher. You've got a bag of tricks when you get 19 sacks. I don't really care what level it is. High school, college, pros. You get 19 sacks, you've got an array of moves that you can use to get to the passer. Great hand usage. To me, this is probably his biggest asset. His hand usage is what gets him to the quarterback a lot of times because he's not an explosive pass rusher. We'll talk about that in a second. His hand usage is what saves him. I love when I see pass rushers, defensive linemen, whomever, use their hands to their advantage. Hey, guess what? You got 2 of them. They're there for a reason. Use them. A lot of guys don't master the art of using their hands. And the thing I love the most is when a guy, a defensive lineman or a pass rusher, takes an offensive lineman, grabs him, and pulls him. You know, a lot of times you see holding on offensive linemen, but defensive linemen can get away with it too. And if it's there, use it. And what I love about that move, it thrusts you to the quarterback. So you get your hands on him, you redirect him, you shake him up, and then you pull him. And you throw him behind you, and you use that momentum to power you forward towards the quarterback. He'll do that as well. I love his hand usage. He'll fight off. And there was one play where he's rushing the quarterback, beats the tackle. He tries to get his hands up, slaps his hands down, knocks the tackle off balance. Easy path to the quarterback. He has an array of moves, and I think his hand usage is what does a lot of damage for Louie. You go on to his defense in the run game. Now, he's not as strong at the point of attack as I would like him to be. I think he holds his own in the run game. He's not bullied in the run game. He's not a guy that you can just run at and blow him off the line of scrimmage. I think he holds his own. He doesn't make enough plays for me in the run game. That's my problem. He's sticky. Guys can block him. He won't get off the block and make a play. You won't blow him out of the gap. You won't run at him and blow him off the line of scrimmage. And I do like that about him, but I would like to see him make more plays in the run game. But he does hold his own. I don't think he's that big of a liability in the run game. And so that's something that I think they might try to ease him in. I don't know if he's a guy that you want to be on the field all 3 downs right away. Maybe over time he'll get better at stopping the run. But right now, you want him as a guy that can get to the quarterback. That's something you pay for in this league. You'll spend a 2nd round pick on a pass rusher, just a situational pass rusher. Remember Aldon Smith drafted in the top 10, I think he was number 7 overall to the San Francisco 49ers about 5 years back. He didn't start in his rookie season. He was a situational pass rusher, and he got about 15, 16, 17 sacks in that rookie season, just being a situational pass rusher. That's what you're looking from Louie. I don't think he's going to get that many sacks, but he's going to be impactful nonetheless. High production at Washington. I already told you the guy had 32 sacks over the last 2 years, broke the school record for most sacks in his collegiate career at Washington. So He's no stranger to getting to the quarterback, and that's why you made him a second-round selection out of Washington. Let's go to his cons, and there's some that could concern you here. Obviously, Saints weren't worried. That's why they took him 44th overall in the second round, but multiple ACL tears. Let's just get to that right away. That's the elephant in the room. He tore his ACL in 2 consecutive seasons. He's been in college, seems like forever now. He was a guy that started out early on in his career with a little bit of success as a situational pass rusher. Then he tears his ACL in 2011, tears it again right before the 2012 season, comes back, gets 13 sacks in 2013, and then gets 19 in 2014. So the last 2 years has been extremely healthy and very, very productive. So let's hope that's behind him and that he doesn't have another saga episode with an ACL tear. Not an explosive athlete. I've already told you that before. This is not a guy that's going to blow you away with a 40 time, not going to blow you away with explosiveness. He's not a twitchy athlete. He's just a crafty pass rusher that understands the nuances of how to get to the quarterback. I talked about the hand usage. I talked about him mixing it up. And that's basically what it is. It's a mind game. When you're trying to get to the quarterback, it's not always about brute force and speed and all of those things. It's about knowing how to mix it up. Some of the best pass rushers don't have any one elite trait that separates them from everyone else. It's just they know how to get the job done. Now, in the case of a Justin Houston, electric first step. In the case of a J.J. Watt, dynamic power. But again, they know how to mix it up. They know how to switch it up and not allow the offensive lineman to predetermine what they're going to do. And so Kikaha is someone that does the same thing, and I think that's what's going to help him at the next level. No bull rush. That's the one thing that I really want to see him improve upon, is that his functional strength needs to get better. I talked about him in the run game and him not being as big a factor as I would like him to be. That's part of the reason why he's not, is because he doesn't blow guys up in the run game, force them 3 yards into the backfield. He doesn't do those type of things, and that translates to getting after the quarterback. He doesn't use a bull rush, and he doesn't have one because he doesn't have that kind of core functional strength that you need to blow a guy up. And some of it is technique. If he learns how to use a bull rush, I think that could really enhance him and take his pass rushing skills to the next level. And that's something I want to see him develop. I want to see the linebacker coach get with this kid and teach him how to use that one arm to jack up a tackle and use that leverage. He's a shorter guy at 6'2". And 6'2" isn't really that short, but when you're talking about guys like Andrews Pete who are 6'7" at the tackle position, you want to use that leverage to your advantage, get up under their pads and drive them back. I want to see him learn how to use a bull rush. Despite not having a bull rush, despite not being an explosive pass rusher, this guy is legit. He is the real deal. And to me, I want to see this guy on the field, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, passing situations, turn this kid loose and allow him to get to the quarterback. Saints get a really good football player in the second round out of Washington. Haiole Kikaha is a 3-bagger for the New Orleans Saints in the second round. Good triple for the Saints, getting a player at a position that they desperately need help at. They didn't get to the quarterback enough last season. He's going to help them do exactly that in 2015. We move on to the 3rd round, 75th selection overall. Quarterback out of Colorado State, Garrett Grayson. Here's a kid that you look at Drew Brees and you say, Drew Brees isn't getting any younger, okay? And I think this was a hell of a pick because I don't know if this kid's a starter in the league, okay? He might be a career backup, but you need backups in this league. Drew Brees could play another 6 years. Who's to say how long he's going to play? But in any event, you need a guy you trust behind him. Remember the days of Chase Daniel in New Orleans? You felt good about your backup quarterback situation. You felt warm and fuzzy if something ever happened to Drew Brees. You felt like you had a guy in Chase Daniel that could come in and keep the ship steady while Drew Brees was on the mend. He goes to Kansas City, and now all of a sudden you got a guy like McCown. Look, I don't want Luke, I don't want Josh, I don't want any McCown having to play quarterback for me at the next level. And so this is a great pick. I don't know if he'll be able to take the reins when Drew hangs it up, But I do know this much. You're getting a guy that's going to come in, compete, and I think be an excellent quarterback in short spurts, especially early on in his career. Again, you're hoping he doesn't have to play. He can just learn, sit and watch behind Drew Brees, who's been pretty durable for you over the years. But again, you just never know. All it takes is one in the National Football League. Let's talk about this kid. 6'2", 213. That's the going rate on the size of these quarterbacks nowadays. A lot of these guys come in the league, they're about 6'2", 215, 220 pounds. So he fits right into that mold of the 6'2", 215 pound quarterback. He's an accurate quarterback. My goodness, when you watch him on tape, he didn't miss very often. There was one game against, I want to say it was Wyoming. He might have started the game 15 of 15. He might have started the game 16 of 16. It was, man, he was shredding them. And it was like 3 touchdown passes. 16 of 16, probably about $185, 3 touchdowns. I mean, and these weren't little dink and dunkers. These wasn't, oh yeah, Tom Brady, surgical, 5-yard passes all the way down the field. He was shredding these boys, and it was a thing of beauty. When he gets time, the dude is cerebral with the football. Mobility, I don't think he gets enough credit for being able to move. Now, sometimes, and I know he was dealing with a little bit of an injury, sometimes he'll just go down. He's not going to try to ride, he's not going to try to run, not going to try to put up a fight. He'll just go down. But when he does decide to tuck it and run, he's got a little bit of wheels on him, okay? He is not a Ferrari. He's not running past guys, but he's got some wheels on him, man. A nice little Ford Focus and gets him where he needs to go. Okay, and so he showed that mobility in the bowl game versus Utah. And tell you what, he was running on that throwback pass. He throws the football to the receiver out of the backfield, running back, one or the other. They throw it back to him, and he takes off down the sidelines, gets a convoy of blocks, scores a touchdown. The guy can move, okay? Now, I don't want him having to move, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he can move when necessary. So I do like his mobility. Eye discipline. A lot of these young quarterbacks come in the league and they stare down receivers. It's one of their faults coming out of college, because you can get away with that at the college level. Guys normally don't make you pay for staring down receivers. At the next level, safeties, corners, they'll bait you. They'll allow you to take them to the football. You stare down a receiver, they'll make you pay for it. He had a beautiful throw against Nevada where he looks off the safety, keeps him in place over on the left side of the field, comes back to the right, hits the back, that post, that bank 8 on the backside, hits the post, in stride, touchdown. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful throw. And that was the eye discipline that I was looking for out of this young man, and he showed it to me on that particular play. Pocket awareness. Another one of these traits that seems like these young boys don't come equipped with anymore. Because of the spread offense and them getting rid of the football so quickly, you lose the sense of pocket awareness. Where's the rush? Where is it around me? Internal clock going off. When you're throwing a football in the spread offense and you're getting rid of it, there's really no footwork here. When your back leg hits the ground, ball come out. There's no pocket awareness because you don't have to go through progressions and reads a lot of times. You just get rid of the football. Well, he has pocket awareness. There are a lot of times when he'd be in the pocket, trash around him, he realizes time to go. Got to move faster than slow and get out of this pocket before something bad happens. And so his pocket awareness, a lot of times when he had to step up and make something happen, I like his pocket awareness in the football games that I watched. I thought his pocket awareness was tremendous, especially for a young guy. Watching these quarterbacks come into the league, a lot of them lack pocket awareness and the feel of the rush. Solid arm strength, and he's a guy that I think is just flat-footed, can probably wing it about 45, 50, 60 yards in the air. There's a couple of times where his footwork wasn't the best and he would go flat-footed on me and he still would wing it. And so I like his arm strength. I think it's solid. It's more than enough to get it done at the NFL level. So I don't think there's an issue there. And deep ball accuracy. Deep ball, and I know you said, you already said he was accurate. Okay, look, let me explain this to you. Deep ball accuracy and normal accuracy are two different things. If you don't know that, let me explain this to you very quickly. Don't ever forget this, because the two are not the same. You can be an accurate quarterback. Okay, you can be a guy that picks teams apart 15 yards and in. Anything 15 yards away from the line of scrimmage, you're money. Remember Teddy Bridgewater came into the league last year And the knock on him was deep ball accuracy. The kid was cerebral from about 15 to 20 yards into the line of scrimmage. He would hit anything moving in that short space. But you told him to throw it 45, 50 yards down the field, he was missing. And you watch him in that Redskins game last year, and he had about 3 or 4 receivers wide open for about 50, 60, 70 yard touchdowns. He just overshot him. His deep ball accuracy doesn't match up with his mid to short game accuracy. That's not the case for Garrett Grayson. His deep ball accuracy is just as good as his short accuracy, and so this guy can let it rip 45, 50 yards, hit a guy in stride and allow him to catch it and keep going and possibly get into the end zone. So I love that the fact that he can hit the deep ball, because in the National Football League, I say this all the time, a lot of times you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to go, because opportunity knocks once in a game. Sometimes go. You gotta hit that deep ball. Guys running 45 yards down the field, he's open. You gotta hit him. You may not get another opportunity to hit the deep ball in that game. You cannot miss those opportunities when they come your way. And Garrett Grayson did not miss at Colorado State very often. Let's go to his cons. Batted balls. And I talked about him being 6'2", which to me is the going rate right now for quarterbacks. But the reason why, and these two go together, so I'm gonna go ahead and lump these two together, and this next con is the most important one for him. I talked about the batted balls. Here's why there are a lot of batted balls. Drew Brees is 6 feet. He didn't get a lot of balls batted because he knows how to find lanes and he throws over the top. Drew is always looking over his helmet. You know, Drew's always looking up, tippy toes. This guy throws, he has a funky 3/4 delivery. So instead of him throwing over the top like Drew Brees does, over the top, he's coming from over here. He's got a funky 3/4 delivery, and it's slow. It's a lethargic, you know, Byron Leftwich type wind up, and that leads to something else, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But that delivery probably caused problems for some scouts. They didn't like it. It is very slow, I will admit. And when I was watching him, I'm like, man, it took me about a tape and a half to realize, because I kept saying to myself, something's wrong here. What is it about this guy? And then I said, all right, stop the tape. I had to stop the tape. And I analyzed him. I said, what is it that's rubbing me the wrong way about this guy? Why do I look at him and I say something's fundamentally wrong here? It was the throw. It was the mechanics. You can't change it now. We're too late. In the game, this is how he throws the football. You're either comfortable with it or you're not. You can't change it at this point. But it's funky. It comes from about right here. He throws it. So because you're already a shorter quarterback, now you want to come from a kind of quarter angle, and you're going to get some balls batted down, and he did at Colorado State quite often. And what also happens, and this is the last con, he'll fumble the football. Or actually, it's 2 more cons. He'll fumble the football, and because you're here, and it's a slow delivery, guys can not only not hit you and still get the ball out of your hands, because they can run by, hit it out your hands, but also, when he's under duress, and this is his last con, he's not a good quarterback under duress. And I know that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek statement. I mean, who is a good quarterback under duress? But some of the best guys in the league, Aaron Rodgers, Tony Romo, you get pressure on those guys, they still find ways to get it done. And so he's one of those guys, that's not the case for him. You put pressure on him, bad things happen. Interceptions happen, fumbles happen, turnovers happen. And in the National Football League, you can't turn the football over. Something he's going to have to clean up, because again, when he gets hit a lot of times, the football comes out of his hand. And a lot of times, batted balls get picked off. And one of those got picked up. They got blown out in the bowl game they played against Utah, like 45-10 or something like that. It was bad. And it was the turnovers. They couldn't protect Garrett Grayson, and he struggled with that pressure that Utah applied on him. Turned the football over at least 3 or 4 times, a couple of fumbles, an interception. And they lost badly. And so he's a guy that when he's under duress, you got to protect him, or else that's something he's going to have to clean up, is protecting the football. No matter what, pressure, no pressure, can't turn the football over at the next level. But when it's all said and done, I thought you addressed the need here. I thought you got good value with this kid. I like the pick. I like the quarterback. I want to see him develop over time. This is another triple for me in the 3rd round, quarterback out of Colorado State, Garrett Grayson for the New Orleans Saints. We move on to to the third round, and this is their second third round selection. 78th overall, cornerback out of Florida State, P.J. Williams. Now, here's a longer corner, and you start with his pros, long 6-foot corner. You know how the league is shifting to the longer corner. Right now, we're in a day and age where the receivers are getting bigger and bigger every year. So now the corners are getting bigger and bigger every year. And to me, the 6-foot long corner is in vogue right now. If you're a 5'11", 5'10" guy, unless you have some excellent ability and you've got some standout abilities, whether it's speed or change of direction, quickness, or ball skills, unless you're doing something at an elite level as a smaller corner, teams are shying away from those guys. They're looking for the 6-foot long corner. They're looking for the 6'1", 6'2" guy that can move, that has agility, that's not stiff. They're looking for those guys because they are looking for them to match up with the big time receivers on the outside. He fits that mold at 6 feet. Physical in nature. P.J. Williams is just a physical corner, period. Let's get physical, physical. He's just a physical corner. He's in your face. He's coming up. He's challenging you at the line of scrimmage. And I like that about him. He's physical in nature, not just as a press corner, but as a guy that wants to come in and tackle. He will lay the lumber on you. He'll bring a shoulder. He'll bring his hard hat and lunch pail, try to get you on the ground. He's just a physical football player, period. End of discussion. Aggressive in bump and run coverage. I basically just alluded to that. He'll get in your face. And I thought the best tape to watch, if you want to see him be feisty and a competitor, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that story for a little bit later on when I get to his last pro. But he is an aggressive bump and run corner. He wants to get in your face, wants to lay hands on you. And if he can ever figure it out at the next level, he could be a really good press corner. But he's got some deficiencies that we'll talk about a little bit later on that may stop him from being that kind of guy at the next level. He's capable of blitzing. They blitzed him a lot at Florida State. They would blitz the draws off of some teams, and he would be the main catalyst at the cornerback position, whether they line him up in the slot to blitz or they line him up out wide. He blitzed a ton. In some games, I'm like, wow, I mean, they're blitzing this guy off the edge like he's an outside linebacker or something. There would be times where he comes 5-6 times in a game. I mean, the corner blitz is dying in the National Football League, but you couldn't tell at Florida State that it was a lost art because they were blitzing P.J. Williams quite a bit. Short-term memory. This is what I want to talk about with him. As a cornerback, if you're going to be a good cornerback, you need to have short-term memory. You have to have the mentality that you're the best guy on the field at all times. Even when you just get beat for a 47-yard touchdown, the next play, you're the best guy on the field and it won't happen again. P.J. Williams has that short-term memory. Against Devontae Parker, if you want to see him at his best, even though Devontae Parker ate the Florida State Seminoles alive, P.J. Williams, that was the game that made me fall in love with P.J. Williams. He competed, he got in Devontae Parker's face, he challenged him on slant routes, he challenged him up the sidelines, he challenged Devontae Parker even when he was making plays. P.J. Williams was in his hip pocket and he was there all night and he let Devontae Parker know, I'm gonna be here all night, homeboy. You might get your catches because you are a dynamite receiver. All right, you gonna get your catches because you're a beast. I'm gonna be in your face all day. And so I love the fact that P.J. Williams is a competitor, not afraid of the limelight and big time receivers, and he's got short-term memory. Like I said, Devontae ate those guys alive. And even though he was making plays, it didn't faze P.J. Williams. He still was ready for the next snap, as if nothing ever happened in the first place. And as a good corner, you gotta have that mentality at the next level. These guys are good. And so you gotta know you're gonna get beat, you're gonna give up some plays. Next snap, I'm good, let's go. And so now we go to his cons. No long distance speed. And I think these two cons, and I'm gonna go ahead and lump them together, is what I think could stop P.J. Williams from being an electric, dynamic corner at the next level if he doesn't make some adjustments to his game. We'll lose at the line of scrimmage. Okay, you can't come up. Oh yeah, I'm about to go and get it. I'm gonna get in your grill. I'm gonna get all up in your chest, jam you up in this line. Oh, damn, just blew by me. Guy can't beat you at the line of scrimmage and you don't have makeup speed. And PJ Williams, and so let's put all three of these cons together, because to me, one lends itself to the other that opens its hand and lends its hand to the other, which to me makes for a deadly combination. And this is what scares me about PJ Williams. So, no long distance speed. If you get beat at the line of scrimmage and you don't have makeup speed, this last con is a problem. Doesn't locate the football when it's in the air when he's beat. Okay? So when he gets beat off the line of scrimmage, I just told you he didn't have the speed. So if it's a 9 route and he gets beat off the line of scrimmage and now he's in a trail position, he can't catch up if the guy has speed. If the quarterback puts the football out in front, he can't catch up. And he never locates the ball. So if the quarterback throws an inflated football, okay, or a deflated football, I call it deflated when it's underthrown. He throws a deflated football and it's underthrown. PJ Williams can be right in the play. He'll never know. You'll never know, because PJ he panics. He's a guy that panics when the football's in the air. He starts grabbing and raking at the arms before the ball gets there. He got away with a couple of PIs in college because of his name. I'm gonna tell you what, at the next level, look at that Virginia game. Watch the Virginia game, Florida State versus Virginia. If you want to see PJ Williams get torched off the line of scrimmage, him not be able to recover, and then him exacerbate his problem by not looking for the football and then committing pass interference penalties, go watch that Virginia tape. It's egregious, and it's everything you don't want to see out of PJ Williams at the next level. But tell you what, you got a steal here in the third round. This is a second round, borderline first round corner. He has the weed thing right before the draft, and so that knocked him down and knocked his stock down. This is a first round, late first, early second round corner. You get in the third round with a lot of interesting intangibles. We'll see how the Saints decide to use this kid, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot here to like with PJ Williams, cornerback out of Florida State in the third round. It's another 3-bagger for the Saints. Saints racking up the triples as they continue to hit very well early on in this draft. Saints do it again with another third round selection. This time, PJ Williams, cornerback out of Florida State. We go to the 5th round. No 4th rounder for the Saints. And you go 148th overall, linebacker out of Tennessee by way of Chattanooga, Davis Tull. Now, first of all, I don't know a lot about Davis Tull, or at least I didn't before the process. It was funny, Combine though, I had heard that this guy lit it up from an explosion standpoint. Didn't run, was banged up, couldn't run, but he had a vertical that was 42.5 inches, and Charles Davis had put a little buzz in my ear, a little bug in my ear, and said, look, I want you to keep your eye on this Davis Tull kid. He just jumped to 42.5, and remember, everybody was going nuts and gaga because of Byron Jones and what he had done. And at the time when Davis Tull did this, Byron Jones hadn't went yet, because this was the defensive line / linebackers day when Davis Tull did that. But Vic Beasley had stolen the show that day. And so his 42.5 inch vert went under the rug a little bit, but I kept mental note. I wrote his name down even though I hadn't seen him run and do anything. And so it was fun to see the tape on this kid when I finally got a chance to watch him. And so we go to his pros, 6'2", 243-pound outside linebacker, and that's right around the going rate. I talked about how these pass rushers are right around 245 pounds, so he fits in that mold. And he's an explosive athlete. That's the next pro. I just talked about the 42.5 inch vert. How about a 4.57 40 on one leg, essentially? He hurt himself, and he had a hamstring issue. He hurt the hamstring again while he was running the 40, so he didn't get to run the 40 again. But how about a 4.57 on one leg? I mean, you're telling me that you ran that with one leg. What happens if he's healthy? This guy probably could run a 4.53 or something like that. So this is an explosive athlete. The 40 time matches up with the explosiveness that we saw in the vert. This kid is an explosive athlete, and you see it. When he gets a chance to uncork it on tape, you see it too. And so that's something that I like. Again, when we're talking about small school ball, I need you to go out and ball out. And that he did. I'll talk about some of that a little bit later on. Upside, and he's raw. The thing I love about him is that he's a raw football player with a lot of upside. And he played against some less than stellar competition. and that's putting it kindly. There was one tape I watched. He's a 6'2" defender, right? The tackle he was playing against looked like he was about 6'2". I'm like, wait a minute, where did they make 6'2" tackles at? I mean, where does that happen? I mean, but again, that just speaks to the small school nature and him needing to dominate the competition, and that he did. He won Conference Player of the Year 3 times in a row, was easily the best player in that conference. He notched up sacks. He did it all for the Chattanooga football team. And so now let's go to his cons. Small school prospect. Again, how is he going to do when he takes that next step up, okay, to the next level? And now I will say this. They played Tennessee. That was the biggest game on their schedule. Again, Tennessee, Chattanooga. So, of course, you expect them to have Tennessee on their schedule somewhere, and they did. And Tennessee routed them and destroyed them, but he destroyed the right tackle. It was a freshman, true freshman, right tackle at Tennessee. And man, did Davis Tull work this kid over or what? I mean, it was hard to watch, man. Davis Tull was giving this young man a lesson and on how not to get it done at the collegiate level. And yeah, when you're a true freshman, you're going to get baptized. It's baptism by fire. And Davis Tull put that man's head underwater, said a prayer for him, boy, because he was going to work on that young fella. He might have had 2.5 sacks and about another 4 or 5 pressures that led to sacks by other guys. He put on a clinic, okay? You saw the spin move, you saw the speed to the outside, you saw the rip move back inside. You saw some of everything. Davis Tull, like I said, he put all of his moves on display in that game. That game probably single-handedly got him invited to some serious senior competition, Senior Bowl, all that stuff. That tape was impressive. And that was the best competition he had seen all year long with Tennessee. And he showed up on the biggest stage. So I was proud of him. How does that translate to the next level? You're still a small school prospect. Can you play that way when you start to see NFL level talent on a consistent basis? How will he adjust to being a 34 outside linebacker? In college, he was an undersized defensive end. I just told you he was going up against 6'2" tackles. You didn't need to be huge and stout at the point of attack to be a defensive end where he was at college. How is he going to make the adjustment to standing up in a 2-point stance and rushing, maybe dropping into a little bit of coverage and showing the fluidity out in space? How is he going to make that adjustment? Because at Tennessee, Chattanooga, all he did was rush up the field and get pressure on the quarterback. That's all they asked him to do. That's all he needed to do. How is he going to make the adjustment to probably being a stand-up outside linebacker in a 3-4 defensive front? And is he strong enough at the point of attack? I really didn't see him impact the run game that often when he was at Tennessee, Chattanooga. So that's something else I question. How will he stand up at the point of attack? Is he physical enough in the run game? Those are all questions I have. I like this kid a lot. I like his intangibles. Small school prospect. You gotta show me on a consistent basis. But I like the athleticism. I like the fact that he's raw, that he's going to get better. I just got questions. Not enough answers right now. And because of that, Davis Tull is a double. But I like this kid. I like what he brings to the table. I just can't allow myself to give him a triple because of the level of talent that he faced in college wasn't great enough. And I want to see how he translates at the next level. And he did not play outside linebacker. He was a defensive end. So he's going to have to make that conversion. Want to see how smoothly of a transition that ends up being. And so we go to the next pick, 5th round, 154th overall selection. Defensive lineman out of Fresno State, Tyler Davidson. This is a kid I'm excited about, man. Watch the tape on Tyler Davidson, and I'm here to tell you, Saints got themselves a football player in the 3rd round. 6'2", 316-pound defensive lineman. And the thing I like about him, this next pro to me is what sets him apart. He is an aggressive, penetrating, 0 technique or a 5 technique. Whatever you want him to be, he can be. Now, I think at the next level, he probably translates to being more of a 5 technique as a defensive end, more so than a 0 tech. But look, I don't think you have to be shy about moving him around on the defensive line. I think he can play all three positions, both 5s and 0 along that defensive line. I think in nickel situations, you don't have to take this guy off the field because he's a pass rushing big man, okay? Something that the Saints lack. I like John Jenkins. I like him a lot. He's not a guy that's going to get to the quarterback very often. Akeem Hicks can get to the quarterback, and he did a couple of years ago. Didn't get there as much as I would have liked him to last year. So you've got some guys that can do some work along the defensive line. This kid here is something else. You know, Akeem Hicks is good. Tyler Davidson is something else, okay? And so I'm going to tell you what. You got yourself a steal in the 5th round. He can pressure the quarterback. That's his last pro. This guy, I'm telling you right now, he's so aggressive. And that aggressiveness does come at a cost, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but man, is this kid aggressive, and I love it. Love it! His aggressiveness is what makes him a great pass rusher, potentially at the next level. Let's get to his cons. When he's tired of staying straight up, I just told you he's a 6'2" defensive lineman, so that means he's a little shorter for the interior of your defense. And if you're going to be short, you can't stand straight up. What you have to do is use your leverage. A lot of people like to give guys that are shorter, like 6'2", 6'1", 6 feet, give him a hard time. Remember, Aaron Donald was a guy that was 6 foot coming out of college last year. A lot of people wanted to give him a hard time because of his size. All you gotta do is use your quickness and your leverage to your advantage. Aaron Donald did it last year, and he was dominant last year. I think Tyler Davidson can do the same thing. Use the quickness and that leverage to bull rush guys and to use the quickness to beat them into the backfield. Now, when he's tired, as most defensive linemen, he stands straight up. And when you stand straight up, show the offensive lineman your numbers, guess what? They drive you back off the line of scrimmage, which is something else I did not see. Guy is strong at the point of attack. And so that's another one of his pros that I really didn't mention, but I need to. You don't move this guy very often off the line of scrimmage. The only way you get him to move is this last con, and that is he can easily be displaced on his own. He will displace himself by his aggressiveness. Remember I talked about his aggressiveness and him being a penetrating 0 tech or 5 technique. There's times where he's at the 0, right over the center, and he's so aggressive off the snap, he knifes into the backfield, and all the center does is turn around and push him. And now the running back says, oh man, thanks. Runs right up the hole. There was one play against Nevada. Running back gets the football. Tyler Davidson is so aggressive on this play. He actually runs into the gap next to him to his right and blows his own self out of his own gap. The center just lets him, rides him out. And next thing you know, the Nevada running back cuts it back, gets a burst of speed up the gap, comes out the other side, takes off for about a 35-yard touchdown run because Tyler Davidson didn't stay in his gap. He didn't have gap discipline and gap control and contain. And so his aggressiveness can be used against him, but when it's a passing down, this kid is electric. He's going to force issues. He may not get the sack, but because of his initial pressure and the quarterback having to avoid him, somebody else can be the beneficiary of that. This kid is electric. I fell in love with him watching the tape. In the 5th round, defensive lineman out of Fresno State, Tyler Davidson, for me, is another triple off the wall into the corner. It's a 3-bagger for the Saints. This kid here can do some things, and I think he can do some things right away for New Orleans in 2015. Another 5th round selection, the 3rd for this Saints football team, as they racked up the 5th round selections. 167th overall, defensive back out of Georgia, Damian Swann. This is a kid that I like a lot. I like Damian Swann. I like some of the things that he does. And so let's talk about his pros. Long, twitchy, 6-foot DB. I talked about the NFL going to the longer corner. Here's another one of those guys at 6 foot, kind of long, rangy corner. He's twitchy. What I mean by that is he's very explosive, which is our next pro. He's got explosive movements. He's not a guy that's going to run a 4.43 in that sense. He's a 4.5 40 guy, but he's explosive. His movements, they're quick. They're very explosive. He's a twitchy athlete. You watch him, you see the explosiveness in his movement skills. And because of that twitchiness, he's not afraid to mix it up, which is the next pro. He'll get in there, and when I say mix it up, I'm not just talking about getting up in the grill of a receiver, which I've seen him do, but he's also willing to get in there and stick his nose in and be physical and tackle. So his twitchiness does extend out to being aggressive in run support as well as getting in the face of a receiver. He makes plays, okay? He doesn't panic when the ball's in the air. Unlike PJ Williams, who I talked about panics when the ball's in the air, this kid doesn't panic. He makes plays on the football. He finds the football. He's very nosy. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. At Georgia, this guy made a slew of plays. There's a play against South Carolina where, and I'm going to talk about his versatility in a second, but he lined up at safety on this play. And it's like a 3 safety look. He's extremely deep to start out. And he's reading the eyes of the quarterback. Dylan Thompson, quarterback for South Carolina, is looking for a post going over the middle. And Damian Swan is reading his eyes. And as he sets up to throw it, he jumps it and he picks it off, steps in front of it. It was a big play for Georgia at the time in that game. And so Damian Swan is a guy, 4 interceptions last year, another 4 2 years ago. Guy makes plays. He's a playmaker. And I think he led Georgia, might have even led the SEC with about 15 batted balls. I mean, dude makes plays, gets his hands on the football. He's a playmaker. And his versatility, let's talk about that quickly. He lined up all over the place. And when I was watching tape, I had to locate him because he was everywhere. I mean, he would line up outside. He would line up in the slot. I just talked to you about him being at safety on one play. Kid was everywhere. So his versatility is something else that I think the Saints like. And I think he's got the movement skills necessary to kick inside the slot. I think he can play outside. He's a chess piece. You move him around. I think he can do a number of things. I like Damian Swan with a little bit more development. I think he's a little rough around the edges at times. But tell you what, you shave off some of those edges. You mold this kid into the player you want him to be. I think you're going to get a good football player here in the 5th round of Damian Swan. His cons. Doesn't possess elite makeup speed, okay? So I just talked about him being a 4.5 athlete, talked about him being twitchy, but he's another one of these guys, I don't think he trusts his abilities when it comes to getting up in the face of a receiver now. Could have just been the scheme at Georgia where they were playing a lot of zone because he was off a lot. And it wasn't a lot of man-to-man, it was a lot of zone. So it probably was just a scheme, but he didn't get in the face of receivers a lot. He did get in Devontae Parker's grill in that bowl game, and I thought his defense, and he followed Devontae Parker around in that bowl game. I thought his defense on Devontae Parker was critical in Georgia's win over Louisville in that bowl game. Now, I will say this, in Devontae Parker and Louisville's defense, they were on their 3rd string quarterback in that game. The quarterbacking in that game was horrendous, and Georgia took advantage of it. They put their best defensive back on Devontae Parker, which helped them out tremendously. And so I thought that his defense against Devontae Parker, for the most part, he didn't check him on every single play, but he did move around with him quite often. Thought he did a great job, but he's off a lot. He's in off coverage at Georgia a lot, and so that's something that I want to keep an eye on. Can he get up in the face of a receiver consistently and play bump and run with the guy? Because I just told you he doesn't have elite speed, and so I don't know if that's something he's comfortable doing right now. And I don't know if he trusts his abilities enough to get in the guy's face consistently and be able to return and run with them. We'll see. Not aggressive enough for me in off coverage. There were too many easy completions in front of him. And again, when you're playing a coverage, you're playing cover 3, you give up some routes just because it's not your job to be over aggressive. That's how you give up plays over the top. In cover 3, if you've got an outside third, you stay deeper than the deepest. And so I get it. I understand it. Just too many easy completions in front of Damian Swan. I would have liked to have seen him be a little bit more aggressive. Look, there's nobody behind you. You can read the field. You can see there's no one coming into your zone and flooding your zone and trying to get behind you. Be more aggressive, come up, make a play. He didn't do it enough for me. So that's something else I wanted to keep an eye on. And he's nosy. I talked about him reading the eyes of the quarterback, which is good, but it can also be a detriment. You can use your eyes to manipulate Damian Swan, take him away from the football, and make plays. And so that's something else you got to be wary with. There's a game, I forget which SEC opponent it was, where he was being nosy. I want to say it was Auburn, where he's being nosy, and the guy just runs right by him. And they throw the football up down the corner, and they make a nice completion. I don't know if it was Auburn or not. I want to say it was another game. It might have been like Mississippi State or somebody like that. Texas And I think it was a team with Burgundy. So either way, he let guys get behind him because he was being nosy. Eyes in the backfield, not on the receiver, and they were able to run by him. So that's something else to keep an eye on. But I think you're getting a good football player here that, with some work and some opportunities, I think the more he plays, the better he'll get. And just don't know how many opportunities will be there for him early on in his New Orleans Saints career. Got to make the team first. 5th round pick, nothing's guaranteed to you. But I think with opportunities and good coaching, you can get some really good football out of Damian Swan, cornerback out of Georgia. In the 5th round, this is another solid double for the Saints. I just like what they're doing in this draft, addressing some needs on this football team. You round out their draft in the 7th round, 230th overall selection, running back out of Missouri, Marcus Murphy. Here's a guy that's a smaller back at 5'8". He's more of a scat back guy. Come in, do a little bit of everything. Nothing is one dominant trait. He doesn't have one standalone trait that blows you away, but he's an athletic change of pace back. I like the fact that he's not afraid to mix it up in the middle of the field. He'll run between the tackles. A lot of these 5'8" guys, they want to get outside, show their speed. He's one of these guys that'll mix it up in between the tackles, not afraid to change direction. Does a lot of good things in that sense. I thought at Missouri, he had a luxury that he would start the game, but he wouldn't get a heck of a lot of snaps. They had a few backs that they were platooning in, so he would never be overexposed at any point in the game. So I thought that was also key for him, which is, I think, something that will happen for him in New Orleans. He won't be overexposed. The Saints have a slew of backs that they like, and so he'll have to share the load with those guys. So I think this is a good situation for Marcus Murphy to come into, much like at Missouri for him. Catches the football out of the backfield. He showed versatility, which is another pro for him. At Missouri, they lined him up at receiver. He caught the football out of the backfield. They would throw him swing routes, throw him screens. He would run draggers from the slot. So they lined him up everywhere, and they threw him the football, and he showed good hands by catching the football. Just about every time, I did see one drop, but those happen every now and again. For as many times as he caught the football, to only have one drop, that's not a problem for me. Not afraid in pass pro. Now, not being afraid and actually being really good at pass pro, two different things. He's not afraid to mix it up. I actually thought he did a pretty good job, really solid when I saw him in pass protection. The only question is, and let's go to his cons. His size. To me, all of his cons stem from his size. At 5'8", that's going to hurt him in pass pro. You can be as willing a pass protector as you want to be. If you're 5'8", it's probably going to hurt you at some point. Now, if you're a rock like Maurice Jones-Drew and you're about 230 pounds, then sure, you being a shorter back won't hurt you as much because you're like a fire hydrant, okay? But he's not that. He's a slender guy, about 200 pounds at 5'8", so that size is going to hurt him. You get a big linebacker, big defensive lineman coming in scot-free off of a blitz or something. There's not much Marcus Murphy can do, so he's willing to block. He'll throw his body out there, and I like that. But again, sometimes he's just going to be overmatched because of his size. And his size may put him in a box at the next level. And what I mean by that is, when you're 5'8", 200 pounds, and you're a change of pace back, we like to label you as a change of pace back, a guy that can't tote the rock 25 times, catch it out of the backfield, and make a number of things happen. And I don't think that's what Marcus Murphy is anyway, but I don't think he'll even get the opportunity to show that he can be that type of back because of his size. I think you're just going to put him in a box, say, hey, I want you on third downs to be our new Darren Sproles type, catch it out of the backfield, pass protect a little bit for us, do a number of things. Maybe we'll be able to line you up in the slot and have a mismatch there that you can take advantage of. I think that's what they're going to try to do with Marcus Murphy if he makes the team. Again, 7th round selection, nothing is guaranteed, but I like this kid. The tape for me with him, pretty clean. I didn't see a lot wrong here. The only thing that I think is going to be a detriment for him is his size, but again, doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. If the Saints don't put him in compromising situations, I don't see why this guy can't flourish at the next level. So for me, 7th round, 230th overall selection, Marcus Murphy, running back out of Mizzou, is another double. Saints, to me, they just knocked it out of the park in this draft. I thought they did some really good things. They attacked a lot of needs. The only one I would have loved to have seen them attack was tight end that they didn't address in this draft. You get rid of a big-time playmaker like Jimmy Graham. He's a man. And I think you needed to address that at some point in the draft, and they never did, but maybe they have some ideas and they like some guys that are already on the roster. I know you got a young fella that you like on the roster already, so maybe there are guys that you feel like are already in-house options to step up, not be Jimmy Graham, but make some plays for you nonetheless in the passing game from the tight end position. But to me, overall, solid draft. You tally up the scores and you look at what the Saints have done. 2 home runs, so those are 2 fours, that's 8. You get 3 triples, or excuse me, 4 triples, which lands you a triples bonus. So that's 5 triples for the Saints. So you're talking about 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So that right there puts you at 23. Then you get 3 doubles, which lands you a doubles bonus, which gives you 31 points for the Saints. You divide it by their 9 selections. It gives you a solid 3.4 triple. They rounded home. They rounded third base, and they got halfway home, and they say, "Hey, I'm gonna get gunned at the plate." They went back to third base. Nothing wrong with that. What a draft by the Saints. Very impressive. The combination of good football players, value, and addressing some needs, to me, was the difference in the Saints having an outstanding draft. That's going to do it for me here on the Saints in their 2015 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Can't wait to see who's next. Bart Scott. Can't wait. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.